Hi everyone, this is Dr. Scott, and this mini lecture video is going to be covering our grammar or writing topics for this week. This week, your grammar activity will be going over avoiding sentence problems. And so we are going to talk about three specific things that you can avoid in your writing in order to avoid those problems. The first type of problem you get into whenever you are trying to write for academic or professional purposes would be slang words. You probably heard the term slang before, but we actually use a lot of slang and probably don't realize it. So, slang would be any word or phrase that might be considered too informal or casual. They are words that you could use when you're talking to a friend on the phone, when you are texting someone, but you would definitely not use it if you were writing a paper to turn into your professor or if you were writing, let's say, a cover letter for a job that you want. Examples of slang in America include things like break a leg, calling someone hot instead of attractive, saying that something is cheesy, or a place is dead, like the bar is dead, so I'm going to go home. Phrases like hold your horses or that you are hooked on something, which would really mean that you're addicted to that thing. Slang are just sometimes they use normal words like this, but sometimes they're made up phrases. For instance, my junior high kid, this year recently, if I make something good at home that she likes and she thinks tastes good, she will tell me it is bussin'. So new slang terms are being generated all the time, whether it's bussin' or fetch or I I can't think of some else. I'm sure you can think of some off the top of your head. So those are slang words. They are fun. They can be creative. They can help you express your opinion when you're having a conversation or a casual conversation with someone. But we are not going to use those types of words when we are writing for academic or professional purposes. The next sentence issue that you run into would be double negatives. Whenever I used to teach elementary school, I always liked my own joke where if a kid said, I don't got no pencils, or they would say, I don't have no homework, right? I would hold out my hand and ask, well, where is it? Because if you don't have no pencils, that means you have some and you should give one to me. And if you don't have no homework, that means you do have your homework and you should turn it in. So just remember that you can't use two negative words because just like with anything else, two things that are negatively charged are going to cancel out. So when more than one negative word are used in a sentence, they cancel each other out and actually change the intended meaning of what you're saying. The examples you can see over here are she didn't see nobody. Well, if you did not see nobody, that means you saw someone. But that's not what the person's trying to communicate in this sentence. So, in order to communicate what they're seeing in their reality, which is that they're not seeing anyone, you could either say she saw nobody in the park or she didn't see anybody in the park. But you would not say she didn't see nobody because didn't is a negative word, nobody is a negative, and they cancel each other out. So, make sure you're not using double negatives whenever you write. And lastly, we're going to talk about colloquialisms. Sometimes these are called like figures of speech. Sometimes these are called idioms. Really, they're just phrases that are used sometimes in just a region. So it might be something you heard growing up, but someone that is from a different country would have no idea what you mean if you said it. So saying you're nuts to somebody that's acting not themselves. In a different country, if they read that, they'd say, what do you mean you are nuts? Right? What does this have to do with, a cashew or whatever? Telling someone not to chicken out, saying you're going to go bananas, or saying things like, I wasn't born yesterday. We might know what those phrases mean, but not everybody does. They're also not considered professional, right? We can use um, more mature wording and vocabulary to express our thoughts and feelings in an academic or professional setting that don't include colloquialisms. Plus, colloquialisms can really be, non-inclusive, Because for instance, I'm from Missouri. So a colloquialism might be, we're going to have our admin meeting on Thursday, Lord willing, the creek don't rise, right? If you're from Southeast Missouri, you might know that that means, okay, we're going to have our meeting unless it rains so much that there's a flash flood and then we can't get out of our driveways and then we can't get to school. But if you go out of my region or if you go out of the country, no one has any idea about what that phrase, that turn of phrase, or that colloquialism means. So it can be really alienating to the people that are your readers if you use colloquialisms, because you are assuming that they have the same background that you do and that they would know the same local terminology and local sayings and phrases that you do. So avoid slang, avoid local sayings, phrases, figures of speech. Really avoid saying things that don't mean what you're saying whenever you're writing professionally or for an academic purpose. So that was my mini lecture on avoiding sentence problems. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at jessicascott@trcc.edu.